So we see if we have any people here. My review.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
My class review.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. Hey, Zach. How are you? So I guess you guys have to ask questions in the chat. So you would actually post a question, Zach, if you have any for me. No problem. Can you hear me, Zach? Hi, Rose. How are you? Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So Rose wants to know the outflows and inflows on the circular flow chart. So the inflows are where money is coming into the system and it's flowing in. So that would be from exports where money's coming from China and other countries. So US companies can actually hire more people and then make more things and do that. So exports are an inflow, increased spending is an inflow. So if we actually lower taxes, that would be an inflow of money because people have more money to spend, possibly if we do some monetary policy. But anytime there's more spending, that's an inflow. An outflow would be savings, where people are saving more money. Then their money goes out, and then imports. Did you get that? That's the ratio where you have opportunity costs over the units gained. So remember that the slide I showed today, where it had the chart when you're going over and you're moving from A to B and B to C and C to D, you have the ratio of the opportunity cost over the gain. So you'll see that number increase as you're doing increasing opportunity costs with a bowed out production possibilities curve. Next question. Anyone else? That's it. Pretty easy study session. Anybody else have any kind of chat questions that you want to ask? 3 weaknesses of the market economy would be, first one is no public goods. Second one is there's externalities like water pollution and air pollution. And then the third one can be ups and downs in the economy where you might have, recession every 8 years. You might have bubbles. So it's an unstable, it's not a predictable economy. And also, we seem to waste a lot of resources. I know we're doing what people want, and what people want sometimes is to waste things and throw things out. So I do see that on it. So that's for you, Jack. Rachel wants to know, can I go over the difference between a price ceiling and a price floor? They're both price controls. A price ceiling is the maximum price that a product can go to. To be effective, it must be below equilibrium. So it is the highest a price can go. And if it's at equilibrium, it's too expensive. So my example for a price ceiling is New York City apartments, where if you had an apartment, it was say $3,000 a month. Most lower income, middle income people can't pay $3,000 a month for an apartment. So you make the price ceiling $1,000 or $1,500 a month. It's to help people out so they can afford it. but it ends up creating a shortage of the product. But the idea is to help people out and do that. And to be effective, it must be below equilibrium. The price floor is the lowest price that a product can go. So an example of a price floor is minimum wage. So minimum wage, the wages cannot be below $7.25. That's the national minimum wage. So it can't go below that. You might have corn or wheat. We do a lot of agricultural supports price floors. So they'll put say $4 or $5 for the price of a bushel. If it actually went to the market price, the farmers couldn't make as much money or they wouldn't make any money. So you're trying to help farmers stay in business and do that. Price floor has to be above equilibrium before it can be effective. Otherwise, it's useless. So that's Rachel's question. All right, Zach. We talked about explaining trade-offs in the production possibilities curve. Every point on the production possibilities curve is a trade-off. So A, B, if we went all the way through and put 10 points on the production possibilities curve, all 10 are trade-offs. They're A, B, C, D, E, and so on like that. So any of the points, because it's called production possibilities, there's infinite possibilities that you can make. Each one's a trade-off. Okay? How about any other questions? Anything else that you guys might have? Allocative efficiency versus productive efficiency. Anything on the production possibilities curve that is on the line, so it's on the frontier, anything there is productive efficiency. But you could be at the X or Y axis, and you could be very close to one X or Y axis. It is productive, it is efficient, but it's not necessarily the perfect allocative one. So allocative efficiency is where it's what society wants. So it's not always in the middle. It's somewhere, like we always have said, if we're North Korea and it's guns and butter, we're closer to more guns than we are to butter. If we're Switzerland or maybe Costa Rica that don't have a military or small military, it would be more towards butter. But it's whatever society wants is allocative efficiency. The allocative efficiency has to be on the production possibilities curve, but it's what society wants. So, Ellie, let me know if that answers your question, but it should have. Deadweight loss is a reduction in consumer surplus or producer surplus. It's where the inefficient point is. And it's an inefficient area. It is a spot where if you have a tax or if you have a price floor, price ceiling, it reduces the quantity, it reduces the price, or increases the price and reduces the quantity. But it is loss of efficiency and it's a loss of surplus. Okay, let's see. What PowerPoint are you looking for, Ava? Basically, the PowerPoint that I've used in class, I shared with everybody at the beginning of the year. It's on the, I guess, the classroom stream. You can see it there. You could probably look in the folder and look for it there. But the PowerPoint has got it's got over 100 slides on it, so you should be able to find it. Let's see. Why does demand downward slope? Katie, it's for three reasons, basically. It's for the income effect, the substitution effect, and the law of diminishing marginal utility. Those three reasons are saying why it slopes downward. The supply curve sloped upwards basically because of the profit motive and the idea that companies want to make more profit at a higher price. Let's see. Let's go back up. I think I missed the question here. Can I give you an example of a double shifter in supply and demand? Everything we did today, and it was a double shifter pretty much. So a double shifter is when we shift supply and demand at the same time. Or, I'll say demand shift first and then supply shifts next. They can shift together or they can shift opposite directions. One can increase, one can decrease, so they can both be together. But an example of a double shifter is, for example, population increased and competition increased. So in both, population increased is demand increasing, competition increasing is this increase in supply, so they both shift. So hopefully that helps you, Rose. Let's see. Elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply. I can explain that, Eric, and I can spend hours with you, but it has nothing to do with the test. Elasticity is the slope of the line, so how steep or how flat they are. So if you are inelastic, it is a very steep graph. If it is elastic, it is a very flat graph. Inelastic is for demand. Inelastic demand is something that's a necessity that has no substitutes, and normally it's a cheap price. So an example of an inelastic demand would be toilet paper, toothpaste, alcohol, cigarettes. Elastic supply is a luxury. It's an item that is expensive. It's normally a large dollar price, and there are lots of substitutes. An example of an elastic demand product would be, TVs, computers, cars, yachts, boats, things like that. Inelastic supply is very steep. Again, it's got high overhead, high manufacturing costs. It's hard to change. So when I look at automobiles, they might want to make a lot of hybrid cars. They want to make a lot of um, electric cars, but they can't because it takes so much to ramp them up. The costs are so high. Something with elastic supply is something that's cheap and easy to make. So anything in market day is elastic supply. You can increase your supply very easily without any parts. So flat is elastic, steep is inelastic, and other than that, you're not going to need to know anything. There's not going to be anything on the test about it. The only thing I'm going to ask you is, who pays the tax? And the tax is whoever's the most inelastic pays the tax. All right, let's see. Let me know if I get it and everybody has it. Thank you, Jack, for helping her out. Law of diminishing marginal utility, Brennan, is where the more and more you consume of a product, your utility goes down and utility satisfaction. So as your utility goes down, demand goes down. A normal good is a good where if income increases, the demand for the good increases. An inferior good is if your income goes up and the demand for that product goes down. So 90 to 95% of the products are going to be normal goods, and I'm normally going to assume if your income goes up, demand goes up. But there are a few inferior goods. They would be spam, top ramen, bus rides. Those are inferior goods. The law of diminishing marginal utility. You want me to go over it again, Alton? AJ? You want me to do that again? Give you an example of consumer surplus, producer surplus. What do you mean? I mean, it's where it is in the on the graph. So if you look at price, where supply and demand intersect, and you have that price line, anything above price to the demand curve is consumer surplus. Anything below the price line and to producer, the supply curve is producer surplus. Now, for you guys and you guys only, producer surplus would be the price of the product, also minus the cost of production. So when you're looking at the price and it goes all the way to the supply curve, the amount of goods and services that sellers are willing and able to offer at any price could be to the cost of production. So that's something that will help you on one of the answers for what is the producer surplus or consumer surplus. Let's see. So there's really no examples of consumer surplus and producer surplus, Mark. It's just where it is. We did some examples with taxes, and we did some example, not with taxes, but with price ceilings and price floors. Eric, none of the elasticity problems on the homework set do you need to do. I'm not going to do total revenue. I'm not going to do the coefficients. I'm not going to do those things. There's nothing on elasticity that you need to answer on that sheet. So on the homework section, don't do anything that says elasticity, coefficients, the revenue test, any of that. We don't need to do it. So Katie, does that make sense? Do not do any elasticity questions. Okay, don't do any. The only thing you need to know is who pays the tax, the people that are more elastic, and that's it. My rule, Rachel, is if both supply and demand are increasing or decreasing, then you know quantity and you don't know price. If one is increasing and one is decreasing, you know price, you don't know quantity. And that's basically how you're going to have to remember it. Or you draw it out and then see what you know for sure and what you don't know. But if they go together, you know quantity. If they're going opposite directions, you know price. Does that make sense, Rachel? Rachel, are you good? Okay. Parker, a increase in demand, a change in demand is where the demand curve shifts, where you're going from D1 to T2, or it's a shift to the right or to the left. And change in quantity demanded, which is also could be an increase or decrease in quantity demanded, is a movement along the line. A change in demand is caused by one of the five shifters: population, tastes and preferences, income, expectations of future income, and price of related goods. A change in quantity demanded is only caused by price. Price changes, you move up or down the line. Does that make sense? Parker, let me know. Any other questions, guys? Please give me some questions. And Parker, let me know if that made sense. Allocative efficiency versus productive efficiency, we've kind of answered already, but productive efficiency is anything that's on the production possibilities curve on the frontier, on that line there. So anything on the line is productive efficiency. Allocative efficiency is what society wants. So in general, we draw the production possibilities curve, and then I would say this society is health conscious and healthy, and then which product do you really want? Do you want bikes or do you want computers? So if they're a healthy environment, care about the environment and they're healthy, they would want bikes versus computers. I've used the examples of North Korea. They want more military goods, and then a country like Costa Rica or Switzerland, less militaristic, would want less goods. Does that answer your question, Max? Jack, pretty easy. Price is the end, and it's what buyers pay. So price is what the buyers pay in the product market. Cost is what producers will actually buy a product for to resell. So the cost is how much something costs to you. So I always look at market day. You have your price of your product, and then you have your per unit cost. And then the difference is profit. So you want to make sure that your cost is one thing, price is another, and keep them separate, because a lot of people confuse those two things. My cost is $10. No, it's your price. The price that you pay for it is that, and then the cost to make it is something different. Eric, you're saying my biggest issue is how consumer surplus and producer surplus change when prices change. Producer surplus and consumer surplus change at equilibrium. So it's where they are. I want to start there. That's where you have the maximum consumer and producer surplus, the maximum surplus. If you change price and you change something, then obviously there'll be a change in possibly what one person will pay or what people will do, but it's not a change that I would be looking at now. Price floor, a price ceiling, a tax will change consumer surplus and producer surplus. I don't want to do anything really. All I want you to look at is what is it at equilibrium, and then if we have a price floor, a price ceiling, what happens to producer surplus and consumer surplus. I didn't even do it with taxes, even though I could have. There's a whole thing that I could do if we were in micro that we would do with taxes. I just want you to get what is the maximum amount And then with the price ceiling and price floor, you'll see the deadweight loss, and you'll see that. That's all I really want to get into, because this is not a micro class. This is a macro class, and we're just trying to get basics. Zach, you didn't hear my example of the normal goods and inferior goods, or do you need me to go over it again? So a normal good is where it's 90 to 95% of the products. If your income increases, the demand for the product will increase. So if income goes up, we know that's a shifter. That means demand for the product will go up. Well, there are some inferior goods. They are spam, ramen, bus tickets, plus a few others, where if income increases, the demand for that product decreases. That makes it inferior. Okay. Let's see. Law of supply, Reese. The law of supply is basically states that if you increase the price, quantity supplied goes up. If you decrease the price, quantity supplied goes down. Katie, I certainly hope so, because this is live and I'm going to put it on the web page and put it on my YouTube channel. So I hope you'll be able to go back and see it. I did a test one for about 12 seconds and I could hear myself. So I'm pretty sure I can publish it and do that. So I think it should be fine. Let's see, Jack. Will we have to calculate consumer and producer surplus? Yes, it's possible. No, I'm not going to ask you to do that. There's basically some general questions about consumer and producer surplus, more about how you find it was one, and then the other was what is efficiency, or efficiencies where you use all of your surplus and you're at the maximum. Um, but there's no calculation, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. Let's see. That's correct, Jack. No numbers. And that would be for a micro class, but not for this class. It's not even necessary to do that. What else you guys got? Any other questions? Hi, Sebastian. Very nice. That was cute. I can't do that. So I don't know how you did that. So what else we got? Nope. There will not be a graph like that, Reese, but there will be two questions about world price and about tariffs and that kind of stuff. And it's more general. Um, what happens, like if we are at domestic supply and demand, we go to world price and it's below domestic price, what happens to surplus? You saw dramatically how much surplus gained, and it was mostly consumer surplus. It wasn't producer surplus. But in general, even if you were China and they had a producer surplus that was huge, world trade does make surplus larger. So there'll be a couple. What are the benefits of trade? Obviously it's lower prices, more quantity. You just see it in that example. You get more stuff. You a lot of times get more stuff, better stuff, lower, cheaper prices. And when you do tariffs and you do quotas, you're basically raising the price. You're lowering the amount of the imports, and that's the whole purpose of it. Okay, law of diminishing marginal utility, again, is as you consume more and more and more of a product, your utility goes down, and utility is satisfaction. So as your utility goes down, demand goes down, and that's one of the three reasons why the demand curve is downward sloping. What do you mean, Katie, about the effects of tariffs? Over what we've already said, they raise prices, they reduce the quantity. I mean, I don't know what else you want to know, but tariffs will raise the price for people like we saw in the problem, and they reduce the quantity of products that people get. Then you find other people don't like what you did, and they're going to raise their tariffs on you, so it could hurt your economy. It raises prices on people, and it limits our choices. Other questions? No problem. Max, did you get marginal utility? So what else we got? I'm not going to ask you to graph deadweight loss. It's basically a triangle area between the equilibrium and where the price ceiling or the price floor, that tax would be. Your quantity decreases from equilibrium, so it shifts to the left all the time. So it's this area where between the supply and demand curves and equilibrium where it's there, and it just basically is a smaller amount. It's not something that I'm doing. These are all micro questions, which are great questions, but we're not going to be graphing that either in our FRQ. So we're not even going to graph it there. I haven't really asked you guys to draw it and do it and practice it. It's just more of the concepts. Is it possible for the production possibilities frontier graph to move outward? That would be an increase, or that would be economic growth, and it would shift to the right. And there are three ways that would do it: an increase in technology, increase in trade, increase in availability, or increase in quality of our resources. So definitely you're going to be practicing, Sebastian, increasing and decreasing production possibilities curve. Part of your FRQ is moving the production possibilities frontier to the right and to the left. So make sure you study that and go over those notes on that, because we're definitely going to be doing that. Product market is the end use. Product market is where you buy the product and you're not using it to resell. So it's just the end use. Factor market is the market where you're putting together something, you're creating something, and then you're going to sell it to the end use. So in the factor market, that's where you get your labor, your resources, your supplies, your goods. You buy those things. So if I'm at Pizza Hut, the pizza is the product market and it's the end use. It goes to the consumer. But when I buy the tomatoes and the sauce and the green peppers and the straws and the boxes, all of those things that go into making a pizza is part of the factor market. And it's different. So in the product market, consumers and individuals are the buyer, the businesses are the sellers. In the factor market, people like myself is a seller. I sell my labor to Pizza Hut or to Scottsdale, and then the business is the buyer. Let's see. What are we all going over for markets and types of economic systems? We just need to know traditional and command, not traditional, I'm sorry. Blech. We are doing market and command only. So just market and command, knowing the differences, know what they are, know the definitions, know those kind of things, know the strengths and weaknesses. Where is surplus and shortage graphed on a supply demand curve? Well, surplus is above equilibrium. That's where quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So it's where most of you will be on Thursday and market day. You're going to have a high price above equilibrium, and there's going to be a surplus. On a supply and demand curve, if you have a shortage, it's below equilibrium. It's where the price is less than equilibrium, and you'll have that where quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Emily wants to know how you can tell if price is increasing or decreasing on a supply and demand graph. You look at your equilibrium, and you look, basically, you will, if you plot it correctly, and we didn't always practice it as good as we should have, but if we took our dotted lines to the price line, you'll have P1 or P equilibrium, or we could say it's $15. And then when you shift the supply curve to the right or to the left, or you do your things, you'll see whether equilibrium goes up or down. If equilibrium increases or decreases, that tells you whether price increased or decreased. In general, if demand increases, price is going up. If supply increases, price goes down. If demand decreases, price goes down. If supply decreases, price goes up. So those are just like general rules, and you can look at it and shift it and see if I'm right or not. But you have to look at the graph and see, did equilibrium increase or decrease for the price? Tomorrow is just multiple guess. So that's all we're doing. Does quantity demanded move with the quantity supplied point, or can they move separately? Quantity demanded is a change, a movement on the demand curve. Quantity supplied is a change on the supply curve. So if you're changing the price from $5 to $6, quantity supplied will actually increase and it will go up, and then quantity demanded will go down. So they do move based on a change in price. They move in different directions. Um, I don't know what you mean by future expectation and surplus, or in what it is in demand. I'm not really sure what you're asking, Eric, but basically think about if prices are going to go up in a month, what do people do today? So if they know that prices are going to go up, people will buy today, so demand increases today. And vice versa, if prices are going to go down in a month, and people know that they're going to go down, and you have a sale and an ad, people will not buy today. They'll actually stop buying. Demand will decrease, and then they'll wait for it to go up. Same thing with supply. If we expect prices to go up and supply, and we're expecting that, oh, for some reason there might be, I don't know, for multiple reasons, whether it could be delay, and it could be market, a lot of market reasons that prices would go up for business. So they would not supply it today. They'd wait and get it at the higher price. So it's kind of like you have to look at what's the question, and then what happens with it. I'm not sure if I got that, Eric, because I wasn't sure really what the question was for it. Um, but you just look at what's going to be. I mean, if you're a business and you can get a higher price in a month, you're going to wait for that month and make it then to get the higher price, and you're going to supply will decrease today, and vice versa. Let's see. 45 questions are on the multiple guess test. Price ceilings and price floors are their own government regulation. So the government does that, and the result is a shortage or a surplus. But it's not the reason why the government's doing it. The government wants to help farmers, so they want to give farmers money so they don't go out of business. So they will create a surplus. Farmers will produce more than is actually needed, but that's it. So I normally will be asking about price floors and price ceilings. They do affect the price. The price will either be artificially too high or artificially too low. Quantities will decrease in general. Inefficiency will happen because there's deadweight loss, and there's inefficiency in the market. There's a market disequilibrium part on it. So they basically are their own thing. They're their own reason for doing them, but they do result, and they will have shortages and surpluses there. Let's see. Max, I don't know what you mean. I mean, if you're on a production possibilities curve, and you're on the point A is on the x-axis, or point A is on the y-axis, and point G is on the x-axis. If they're on that curve and on that frontier, they are efficient and they are using their resources fine. It is inside the curve that is inefficient. So if you are on the axis where you're producing only one product, you are still being productive, efficient. You might not be allocative efficient, but you are productive efficient, and you are fine. Only anything inside the curve, the production possibilities curve, is inefficient. I don't know what you mean by if you have too much of a surplus or too much of a shortage. I mean, they're all bad. It's all disequilibrium. You want to be at equilibrium. So you don't want any surplus. If you have a surplus of one, or a surplus of 100, or a surplus of 1,000, I imagine the 1,000 is worse than the 100 versus the one, but it's still a surplus. I'm not going to say that's too high of a surplus, or I've never said there's anything too high or too. I just saying there is a surplus or there is a shortage. Rachel, I don't know. I mean, there are going to be some questions where I actually say it's a double shifter. What happens to price and quantity? Other things, you will be asked questions. What makes the price go down and quantity go down, and you have to look at. I mean, they're all different types of questions. So there's all different types. Like I said, I might say the supply curve shift to the left. What caused it? Um, how would you get the price to decrease? And you given different options. So they're all different types. Like I said, it's a lot of different. If you understand what we did today and understand that, you should be able to answer it in many different fashions. I don't have the problem set, Lauren. I have no idea what anybody's talking about. So I don't have that. So you have to be a little bit clearer on the questions. So I don't know. So I really am not looking at the problem set. Lindsay, I don't know. Let's make it do when we have the FRQ. I'm thinking the FRQ will probably be on Wednesday, not on Tuesday, because I want you to cry on Tuesday. That's 9/11. What changes quantity demand and quantity supplied? Price. Price, 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 price changes and moves along the line. Change in demand, change in supply is the factors, the shifters. Change in quantity demand, change in quantity supplied, it's price, 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 price. Next question. I caught up. You got 27 minutes. Use your time wisely. 27 minutes. Are we good? So, Lauren, can you tell me what Max's question is? If you know what it is, please let me know what it is and type it out. Nobody else? So we're all good. Everybody's got A's. Everybody's going to pass perfectly. And like I said, there'll be Tara asks, how do we know if price quantity will increase or decrease? Please ask the question again. I don't know what she's asking. I don't know what she's asking. I really don't. It's not clear to me. Zach, positive versus normative. There'll be probably 2 or 3 questions on that. And basically, you're going to be given choices like I did in class and saying, okay, are these statements true statements or are they opinion statements? So you're looking at positive as a true fact. It's something that's relates to the real world, and then normative is ought, should, to, that kind of stuff. Okay. Max, what she said, but I don't know what she said, so that's fine. But if Katie says they're efficient, then they're efficient. But I don't know what she said, so that's fine. What else we got? Lindsay, what's Tara's question? How do we know if price quantity will increase, decrease? So are you doing a single shifter or do you think a double shifter? You figured it out? Are you sure? Because somebody else might have the same question. So can somebody give me the rule for what happens? Well, let's put it this way. On a single shifter, if you're shifting demand and demand increases, price increases always and demand increases, so the quantity increases. If you are decreasing demand and you're shifting to the left, price goes down and quantity goes down. If you are increasing supply only, price goes down, quantity goes up. If you're decreasing supply, price goes up, quantity goes down. So those are simple. You can see them. You can draw a shift of supply increasing, decreasing demand, and you can see easily price and quantity will go up or down. On double shifters, we only know one variable for a fact. We don't know the other variable. So the rule is if they both shift together, so like demand increases, supply increases, or demand decreases and supply decreases, if they shift together in the same direction together, quantity either increases or decreases. We know that for a fact. Price is indeterminate. Okay? If you are doing a opposite, like where demand goes up and supply goes down, or demand increases and supply decreases, or if there's any mixture of it, they're not working together, you know, price will go up or down, increase or decrease, and quantity is indeterminate. That's the rule. So remember the rule, and if you don't remember the rule, draw it out, draw the shifters, and one is obvious. You know, one is going either to the right or the left, or it's actually up or down, like with price. And the other one, you're not sure. Okay. Let's see. A single shifter can tell both price and quantity, correct? Yes, every single time, Katie. Yes, and you can even predict it right now. Demand increases, price goes up, quantity goes up. When cars and what are the consequences of producing at A? It's basically the problem is people might not want all trucks or all cars, so the consequences are not getting people the allocative efficiency. They are productive efficient, but not allocative efficient, so they might not be desirable. Because who wants all trucks in an economy? If you got 100 million people, are they going to want all cars or all trucks? No, they're going to want some combination. So they are, while they are efficient, you might have a lot of people that want trucks or cars on either axis. So they are productive efficient, but not allocative efficient. And the problem and the consequence is you could lose sales. You could lose money because you're producing things that people don't want. What changes demand? So those are the 5 shifters, Sebastian, and that is income, population, consumer tastes and preferences, price-related goods, either complements or substitutes, and then future expectations. If demand and supply both increase, decrease, price is indeterminate, correct Alton, and quantity we know. If supply and demand increase, decrease, opposite of each other, quantity is indeterminate. Correct. That is correct, Alton. Let's see. Productive efficiency is anything on the production possibilities curve. Reese, you are a farmer in Virginia, and Virginia is a tobacco state, and it's one of the largest producing states of tobacco in the country. And they know that in the United States, we are getting rid of tobacco. We hate tobacco, and their sales are going down every year, so it's going down. So Virginia farmers have a dilemma. So they look at what are they going to produce. They can produce wheat at $3 a bushel. They can produce corn at $4 a bushel, or they can produce tobacco at $25 a bushel. You tell me, what are they going to produce? Can anyone tell me? What are they going to produce? $25 for a bushel for tobacco, $4 a bushel for corn, and then $3 a bushel for wheat. The farmer has 3 choices. Jack says absolutely tobacco. Correct. they're going to do the one that is the higher price. So given you have different options, I think one of the examples we did in class was the price of tacos, or the demand for tacos increased the price of tacos by 500%. They make hamburgers, they make tacos. So all of a sudden they're going to shift resources from their hamburger unit and they're going to go into the taco unit because the price just went up 500%. So you look at your other things, where is the money going? Where's the price going? And then you make more of that. So that's alternative opportunity cost of alternative production. I've seen it, price of related goods, but it's in related to them on what they produce. Rachel, they would produce the one that gets them the most money. But you're absolutely correct. If they get a cheap price and if their supply, they would increase their supply if the cost of their items was less. So if minimum wage goes down and it makes it cheaper to make the product, supply will increase for sure. But this is just looking at the products themselves, which they make. They make tobacco, corn, wheat. You're going to produce whatever makes you the most money. And then in the future expectations, if you know that you're making, say, wheat at $4 and corn at $4, but then in the future, corn will be going up to $5 and wheat will stay the same, you're going to produce more of the product that's going to go up when it does go up. I don't know, Lindsay, is it the big thing? You might have to tell me afterwards. I think supply and demand are a whole unit itself. They're half the test, not the shifters per se, but supply and demand as a whole is half the test. Some of it is about the law of supply, the law of demand, price ceiling, price floors. That's all supply and demand. Equilibrium. I'm not going to say shifters are the most important thing, and then you're going to get those right and miss everything else up. So you just got to look at all of it, review all of your notes. Is there more than one difference between change in demand and change in quantity demanded? A change in demand is a shift in the curve, either to the right or to the left, to increase or decrease. A change in quantity demanded is a movement along the line. A change in quantity demanded is due to price. A change in demand is due to the 5 shifters. So that's what you need to know. Any other questions? We got 15 more minutes. Anything else that you want to ask? I know we can't draw pictures, but that's going to be for Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday anyhow. So we can do something then. We can cry on Tuesday night and do that together. How does this format work? Are you okay with this, or would you rather do like the Google Hangout? Do anything like that? What's the matter, Sebastian? Sad face. What's the matter? Crying is on Tuesday. Can't cry tonight. So what's going on, Sebastian? Why are you sad? I'll save it. Okay. Save it for Tuesday. Tuesday, we all cry. It's the day to cry. It's 9/11. So, Olivia, you like this? Are you sure you like it better than the other formats? I don't get to see your faces. That's the sad part. I don't get to see you all smiling. Okay, that's fine. I just miss seeing you all yelling and screaming. I think that's better. Okay. Any other questions before we finish? We got 15 minutes. Who's having a problem commenting? What's happening with the comments? Say a prayer for you. Would you stop that? You guys are ready for this. Don't say that. But I'll say one anyhow. So this works good. Okay, good. Why can't Tara and Emily comment? We don't have too many people. We only have, 29, right? And Isabella, I had to replay the question back again. So you're stopping and starting it, Reese? Is that what you're doing? I have to make a channel to comment. What does that mean, Blake? I have to make a comment, or you have to make that? So, Blake, who can comment? Is it you have to make a channel, or is it me? You have to make a channel. That stinks. Sure, Zach. Command economy is pretty much, if you see communism for AP tests, command economy, communism, authoritarian socialism, the dictatorship are all the same. I like to make differences because there are differences, but what you're looking at in a command economy is one where the government answers the three basic economic questions. Government owns the factors of production. Government makes all the decisions, makes all the profit. Government is in charge of everything. If there's no private property, it's government property. Government does everything, makes the decisions. Doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's evil, even though we've seen that in the past that they are bad and evil. It doesn't have to be. You can have a benevolent dictator, I guess. So knowing that the government answers the three basic questions and owns the factors of production, the strengths of it, that system, is it can change quickly. And it's where China right now, they are an authoritarian in many ways. They basically did cap and trade. They said the environment's a problem and they're moving resources to fix their dirty pollution. We're not doing that. We're very slow. Now we have improved. We do have some, electric batteries. We've got Tesla. We've got wind farms. We've got stuff, but it's going at a slower pace than if a command economy said we want to have green technology and we want to work on the environment. It can be done very quickly. So changes the economy happen quickly. There's no unemployment in command economy because everyone has a job. They're all working for the state. And then those are the two main strengths that I want to keep. The other one, kind of like you're taken care of from birth to death. They make those decisions for you. They decide where you're going to work, what career you're going to be in, where you're needed. You can always argue whether that's an advantage or not. You're taken care of from birth to death, that kind of stuff. So normally I'll always put it's either changes quickly or no unemployment. But I do think a lot of people like those aspects and those things. Weaknesses of the command economy would be shortages, overages, poor quality of goods, and that's kind of like what I use. They have lower standard of living than market. They have low income, and that's kind of like what I use as the weaknesses. Let's see. Katie retracted her question or her comment. We have to be logged in on a YouTube channel to comment. Okay. Does everybody have a YouTube channel? Was that a problem? Okay. I don't know. So I'm just trying to see if it's as good as the others. So I don't know. Maybe the next time I'll do a hangout, but I know I can record this. And I don't know if there's a number requirement because we're now at 32. So I don't know if there's a number or an issue there. So we'll see. Invisible hand. Yeah, I mean, you have to know it. I think there's an Adam Smith question, an invisible hand, and it's from iPencil. And it's the idea, and it's capitalism. It's the idea is there's this invisible force that increases the economy, makes everybody better. And I always kind of look at it that I'm being selfish and I'm going to Circle K and I'm buying my drink. And when I go to Circle K and I'm buying my drink, I am helping the person that actually, sold me the drink at the counter, the supervisor that takes care of that person, the person that's washes the floors. I am hiring over 1 million people. So when you think of the iPencil article, you're buying a pencil. Look at all the people that you helped in making that pencil. Or if I'm buying that Coke at Circle K, it's those million of people. So without caring about it, all I wanted was a drink. All I wanted was to pay my $1.07 or whatever it is for my drink, and I helped all those people get a job, keep a job, and do that. So the idea is the more that we buy, and I've said that before many times with a circular flow, if you buy more stuff, you make the economy go up. You're helping millions and millions of people. The other thing is kind of like my dad is a self-employed person. If you are hiring somebody, it's not because you're being nice or kind. It's because you actually need people to work for you to make the product. But by being selfish and hiring people, you're helping those people with income and with jobs and those things. So the invisible hand is basically saying when we're all selfish and taking care of ourselves and buying products and being involved in the marketplace, we're helping not only ourselves, but we're helping other peoples and we're helping people that we do not even know. So this invisible hand brings everybody up. But remember, whenever I'm talking about competition, and I'm talking capitalism, and I'm talking uh, the good things about the invisible hand, remember it's with competition that Adam Smith said. So it's a lot of small companies. And we don't necessarily always have that. So that's the idea of it. Whether it actually works today because we don't have a lot of competition, we don't have a lot of suppliers, we don't have a lot of companies. It probably works less than you could say that works in the real world. Okay. Any other questions? Any other Hey, Emily can do it now. Ha, 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 ha. There you go. So anybody else got questions? So we got 33 people here. That's good. Thank you very much. I like the berries. Thank you, Katie. Thank you. Very nice. Is that another? Ooh, is that a panda? That's a panda. Okay. Any other questions? So don't forget opportunity cost, trade-off. Don't forget thinking at the margin. Questions about the command market economies, efficiency, scarcity. Ooh, scarcity is a big word. So we'll have scarcity questions, trade-off questions, opportunity cost questions, supply and demand, of course, production possibilities, circular flow in the markets. I think we covered it. I mean, there's only 45 questions on this one. So anyone else have any other questions? Olivia, good question. They're very related. And when I want you to answer it, I want you to say a trade-off is two definitions. One is exchanging one thing for another. So if I give you $1 and you give me a soda, that's a trade-off. And then the book definition, the one I use most and what you'll see in AP classes is your alternative choices. So all of your choices are your trade-offs. Now, opportunity cost, the definition of it is the next best alternative when you make one choice over another. And it could be in time, it could be in products. So it's very much related to trade-offs because you can buy a I don't know, bag of chips and a soda. That's your trade-off, a bag of chips and your soda. Stop, choices. If you choose the bag of chips, your soda is the opportunity cost. You can't have both. You have to pick one. You pick one, and then the other is your opportunity cost. So does that make sense, Olivia? Do you got that? Let me know. Why does an increase in wages shift the supply curve to the left? Because an increase in wages means I'm paying my employees more and my profit's going down and my costs are going up, and I'm going to supply less when my costs are going up and my resource prices are going up. Does that make sense, Matt? Please let me know if it does. What's the difference between scarcity and shortage? Scarcity is a permanent situation dealing with resources. Shortage is temporary and normally with products. That's my easiest way to say what the difference is and what they have for them is you can have a shortage of resources, obviously, but that means, no, it's really long term. So resources are going to be your long term. It's going to be scarce. You can have a long term shortage of a product. That's the one that you can have a long term shortage. It can be short term or long term, but it's normally of products. So scarcity is the biggest problem. Shortage is not. Shortage is just some company trying to get that to you guys as an end user. Everything Jade tomorrow is multiple guess. So if you're drawing something out, it's in your air, it's in the head, it's however you're going to draw it out. On Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever we do the FRQ, that will be drawing it out. Trade-offs are all options. Opportunity cost is your second choice. Very true. Correct. Absolutely. Yes. It is the next best alternative. You did not choose. Anyone else? We're at an hour, so that's pretty good. I think we have about 3 more minutes left, and then I have to go back to work. I'm glad you liked it, Lindsay. So now you have to go study. Don't forget, what is your marginal cost and your marginal benefit? Remember that now. So what are you going to be thinking? Will you get scratch paper? I might have some out there. I don't know. You're going to have not a Scantron, but you're going to have a white piece of paper that has all of your options. So you'll be able to draw on that. So that's probably what I'll say you can draw on it. So you'll have something. We'll see about something else. Thank you, Rose. Did you all, let's see, what do you recommend what do you recommend to anyone looking to be self-employed? And does government contribute to self-employers in any way? Of course, I want people to be to be self-employed. I want people to start their own businesses. I want them to do that versus go to college and then be working for a company. I want more self-employed people. There's the Small Business Administration. There's Chamber of Commerce, Rotary. There's a lot of groups that will help businesses. There's a lot of consultants that help businesses. There's a lot of people that will help you out. But the biggest one government-wise is Small Business Administration. And they'll do that and help you out with that. Anyone else, guys? Any other questions before I have to go back to work? This I'll try to post as soon as possible. I'll try to post some other of my graphing questions on change in quantity demanded, change in quantity supplied. I have some of those that might help. And we'll see. I've got a whole bunch of things for supply and demand, and maybe we'll see that. But let me know. Post any questions after this. Thanks, Zach. And you guys have a good night. I'll post this. And then after this, you can post questions underneath this if you have others. I'll see if I can get to those when I'm in between calls. You guys be good. Brianna, I want you to study the problem set. If I collect it tomorrow, and I will collect it from anybody that wants to give it to me, you will not get it back to study. So I guess my thing is, if you're ready to give it to me to grade and you don't need it to study, turn it in. If you are going to use it to study, then we're going to turn it in on the date of our last test. So I really want to have a 9/11 video and cry, and I think 9/11 video is on Tuesday, and we're off on Monday. So that means our FRQ would be on Wednesday, and that means that the test would be Wednesday. You turn in your homework on Wednesday because I want us all to cry on Tuesday. Let's see. I think, did that answer, Brianna? Did that answer everything? It's 9 o'clock. All right, guys. Hopefully it's good for you. Post any questions and you guys be good. I will talk to you later. Bye.